just say one word?
What?
Can I just read out one word?
Yeah,
that I think
sure.
Supremacist?
It's like, I'm a lot of things. A supremacist?
Hey, I'm Zainab.
And I'm Mia.
And welcome to another episode of Sprinkles and Spice.
And do all your friends secretly hate you?
Maybe they do. They probably do.
They have a secret group chat.
It says, not you. Kind of like when Kim told Courtney, not Courtney.
So good.
I would die. So today's episode is about strong friendships and the importance of strong friendships in your well-being and the role of vulnerability and accountability within those friendships.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Why
you know why?
You know why?
Do you know something I don't know?
Do you know something I
Do you want to share it with the class?
don't know?
For Ramadan.
For Ramadan. Speaking of Ramadan, this is our last episode in Ramadan. And Mia, do you want to tell us what you're wearing?
Today I'm wearing Munira al-Omar official. Her dara'as are our favorites, as you guys know. And I'm wearing the crystal bisht in Tiffany. Obsessed.
It's cute. Munira al-Omar is a Kuwaiti local designer. We've been wearing her dara'as all month long. This is not her design though. If you guys have seen me in this for the past, I don't know, 5 years, I keep wearing this. Yes, so what? Yes, and
If you saw me wearing this the past 5 years, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You're just imagining.
Yeah.
I love this dara. I don't care. I'm gonna wear it every single year. I'm a rock
It's so
it.
chic-y.
It's so chic-y. It's timeless. It's a timeless dara. I love her designs. They're not just like Ramadan.
Yeah.
Coded.
They're creative. They're creative.
Very creative. And if you're looking for Eid Dara'a, you can check them out. And I mean, you can also wear that bish on top of jeans and tank.
If you see me roaming the streets of Saudi Arabia in this bish, yes, you will.
Yes, you will. All right. Well, let's get into the episode. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest before the end of the month?
Nothing else to admit to. Do you have something to admit to?
I don't know. It's Ramadan. You want to clear
Start
the air?
confessing.
Anyways, let's get into the episode. Let's start with talking about the difference between vulnerability and accountability because they're obviously not the same.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with vulnerability?
Yes. So vulnerability is obviously letting down your barriers and maybe showing more quote unquote weaknesses and opening up your heart.
Open your heart to me.
Opening your heart to you. Showing you who I really am. Do you know who I really am? I'm being vulnerable right now.
I do. I've perceived you enough times.
Yeah, I hate that. Stop perceiving me. What's accountability, Zainab?
Do you want to know what accountability is?
Yes, I know. Tell us right now. Oh my God, what is wrong with us today?
I don't know. Accountability is basically holding yourself and others. If you don't know, if you're not sure what accountability is, it's basically holding yourself or others responsible for their actions or for your actions or, behavior.
Something you're really good at.
Wow. Okay. I see where this episode is going. Mia, are you good at receiving feedback?
No. I get so pissed off that you perceive me enough to have feedback.
All right. So let's start with
vulnerability. I think.
vulnerability.
Yeah, let's get in there.
Let's get into it. Let's deep dive. Why is vulnerability important in friendships?
So obviously vulnerability is important in friendships because I think it helps deepen that connection, right? Like the more you open yourself up to be vulnerable with someone, the deeper you form closeness,
Of course, yeah.
And I think if one person's vulnerable, the second person feels comfortable to be vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, there are cases like I was thinking earlier today, I'm like, there's always that one person especially in a group setting who is not vulnerable, but is there listening to everyone's tea, listening to everyone being vulnerable, and will never share anything about themselves. They will never be vulnerable. Tariq puts his hands up right now. Tariq, that's a red flag. Do not be friends with that person.
Tariq, put your hands up for Detroit, please.
Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Represent you.
I actually know a girl like that.
I know a lot of people like that.
But in Kuwait, there's this group of friends that I'm friends with. Well, I'm not friends with all of them, but I'm friends with a couple of them. And there's one girl in particular, no one knows anything about her. And the other day, one of the girls said, yeah, we've known her for like 15 years. No one knows anything about her. And I was like, that's not your friend.
That's not your friend, really. Like, I don't trust people like that. And it bothers me. Like, it's such a red flag. And I'm always like the first person to point it out. Like, did you notice that this person never shares anything? Like, it's so uncomfortable. But yeah, like those people are usually very, like, they make you uncomfortable because especially like if you're in a group of very close friends and you're seeing each other regularly and everybody's sharing, you're just absorbing all of this and listening and you're not sharing.
I mean, what are you going to do with the information? I think that's the thing. And I looking back, obviously they're not all these people are my close friends, but looking back at the things that I've said, right? I'm like, this person knows more than I want them to. And I don't like it, not because, well, I just don't like it, but it's because you haven't said anything. So what are you doing with that information? And you just know this person's going around and keeping tabs sort of on everyone, you know?
But do you think there's a difference between being vulnerable and oversharing?
Oh, yeah.
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 Definitely.
Like, especially if you don't know someone, right?
Yeah. Like, because I feel like you could share things about yourself, sometimes overshare, but it's not, like, it is a little bit, like, sharing is part of vulnerability, but I don't think it's the full spectrum.
No, I agree. I think oversharing is reserved usually, right? Not all the time, for people that you don't know.
Like, reserved for Sagittariuses.
Lord.
Nobody overshares
as much as
as much as Sagittarius, and we overshare the most random things ever. It's like, why did I even say that? Can I just take that back?
I actually have a good coping mechanism. I just black it out.
She's like, really? Did I say that? I don't remember.
I don't remember. It didn't happen. It was not me.
If I don't remember, it didn't happen.
That's literally the math. But like I was saying,
Mia math, not girl math. That's Mia math.
Mia core.
Mia core.
No, but with oversharing, I think if you don't know someone and right away they sort of almost like dump stuff on you, that's oversharing. Yeah. Like, I don't know you. Like, why are you telling me this information? Like, what do you want? What is the purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like some people who are afraid of being vulnerable are obviously afraid of being perceived. And the queen of not wanting to be perceived, but is always perceived. Yours truly, Mia.
Yeah, being perceived is not my favorite thing, but I think a lot of people feel this way. I think there's a fear in being perceived. You almost feel like if someone sees you, then they see all of you, the good and the bad. And there's something that's so scary about having someone just see all of you. Because in the reality, when you don't want to be perceived, you just want to be able to control the narrative, because you don't want to show people your weaknesses, because there is a fear, right? Like, if I show people my weaknesses, then they'll know where to hit. You know, they'll see this is where she's weak. This is where we're going to kick her.
So it's like trust issues in a way.
Yeah, trust issues. Yeah. Also fear of abandonment. I'm not going to I hate the idea that someone's going to see me be vulnerable and then they're just going to leave, you know, because I'm too weak or something.
I mean, it depends on who's perceiving you, obviously. But I don't know. Like, do you feel like being perceived is the same as being seen? Like, because for me, I want to be seen and understood. But, like, I don't see being perceived as a negative thing. Like, I don't think someone who perceives you necessarily is, like, gonna be looking for, like, flaws or, like...
Yeah, they just see you.
Like, an Achilles heel to, like, you know, like, know where to hurt you. So I don't know, like what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you feel like...
I think it's a thing a lot of only children feel, or maybe only daughters, because I have another friend that's very similar in that regard, and we both realized that we didn't want to be perceived, by the way, years after our friendship.
Because you were perceived so much. I think, didn't we read something about that the other day?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a middle child, so obviously I want to be perceived.
She can't get enough... perceive her.
No, but I think it's because the struggle of middle children, like, and I one of our friends, shout out, you know who you are. We have this conversation all the time. We have such middle child syndrome where, because you're a middle child, you're caught between the attention of the eldest and the youngest. Yeah. And so, like, you don't feel like you kind of blend in. You don't feel like you're taking up space. So as an adult, you want your friends to perceive you and understand you.
Yeah, it's hard. You have to carve out your place and your space in your own home at the end of the day, you know, because you're in the middle. Whereas when you're an only child, all the attention is focused on you. And so you almost feel suffocated by it. And it's a horrible thing to say. Like, obviously, I'm very thankful to have had all the attention that I did.
Yeah.
But also, in other ways, it's suffocating because you realize the heaviness of the responsibility that attention gives. You know, like people want you to excel. And if you don't, they can see that you're not excelling.
But then how do you achieve closeness and openness with your friends if you're not being perceived or vulnerable?
You don't. It's very one way.
Is that something you struggled with?
100%. And I told you last month, so one of my childhood best friends, right, from high school would always say, you're like a fake open book. Everyone thinks because you're like having fun and having a laugh and whatever, and just social, that you're like open. But she's like, but Mia, you refuse to, like, if you're sad or you're in a mood, like you close off, you don't want to talk. When something upsetting you don't want to talk about it. And I realized, I was like, damn, why do I do this? And if I'm on the phone with her, she can tell I'm annoyed. Look, I don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about you. And you almost push, it's like a mirror, right? You push the mirror on someone else so that they see themselves and they forget to ask about you. And I realized that the reason I felt so uncomfortable with being perceived and all of that is because I was afraid of the idea that because I'm on my own and I don't have anyone to protect me, that being perceived meant I would lose my shield. When in reality, that's on the contrary, right? It's the exact opposite. The more I'm open, the more I feel like I got support. And something happened in January where I think you realized how much I was bottling in, and I felt in that moment seen, but in the best way because you were so kind rather than being so hard.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I feel like my experience with you is different because I mean, even though you don't want to be perceived, I perceived you hardcore. Nobody's perceived you the way I have without her even knowing. I see things and I'm like, and then I bring it up and she's like, how do you know this?
I actually was just like, how do you know?
How do you know?
Who told you?
Meanwhile, I'm just sitting there perceiving and psychoanalyzing.
Yeah.
But no, I also
I didn't
feel
authorize that, by the way. It's consent.
it's okay. It doesn't have to be authorized. But no, my experience with you in our friendship, like I feel like you were very vulnerable right from the start, and I don't know if it's because of the timing or if it's because we immediately like felt that comfort.
You met me at a really vulnerable state.
Yeah, and so did you. Like we both met each other at a vulnerable state.
Yeah, that was the worst.
We were just like being vulnerable with each other. Yeah. But I do want to say there is a fine line between like trauma dumping and being vulnerable. Like trauma dumping is not the same. But like, how do you balance that out? Like, when do you know that you're like being vulnerable, and when do you realize that you're like, okay, I'm just dumping on this person right now?
I think you always know deep down, right? Like when you're trauma dumping, you always know. But I think sometimes you need the friend to tell you. You know when someone's overdoing it, that they need therapy. And you always have to end up being like, hey, by the way, like I'm not a licensed therapist. Because also you have to be vulnerable with your friends, but you also can't take them for granted.
Yeah.
And if you're vulnerable with me about something, I'll be more mindful, right? If something comes up that I know might trigger you, I'll be like, let me just carefully tell you this. I had to tell you, do you remember a few months ago, something happened, there was like a loss, and I called you because I knew that I was afraid that you would hear about that from like Instagram, like an announcement or someone telling you like you knew. I was so afraid the whole day. I was like, I need to make sure she's awake. And you sent me a message. And when you were awake and I was, okay, she's awake and she's like not just up from bed. That's when I felt like, okay, I'm going to call her and I'm going to announce it like slightly like in a softer way that someone had passed. Because I think as girls who've lost fathers, it can be hard sometimes for us to hear about people losing their own family members.
Yeah. I mean, one of our friends does this thing. He's actually with us in the studio now.
Hey.
Hey. And I love that a lot. It's where...
Wait, is he crying?
His face just went red. But he does this thing where, like, if we're going through it, he'll be like, I'm at 80% today, so I can handle it. It's okay. Or I'm at, like, 90%. Have you ever been at 50%? Yes. But I like that. It's very communicative. It's very mature. Like, it just because like you want your friend to know, like, hey, I want to be here for you, but I also have my own, you know, problems or things going on in my life right now. So if I'm good, like, yeah, sure, tell me, like, whatever, I can handle it. But if I'm going through it, like, just communicating that so the other person can also gauge how much they can open up or like dump. Because sometimes, like, when someone's just being mopey, like, I get like going through something, but if you're just sitting there and being mopey and you're bringing the energy of the room down, like, that's not okay. Just stay at home.
Yeah, stay at home.
I say what I said.
Because I think it depends on how you deal with it, right? If you know that you just need like half an hour, whatever, take that time and be careful not to lash out, right? Because that's the fear, is like you're gonna be in a mood and you're gonna take it on people. I think the second you're starting to take it out on people, not just bring the vibe down, but really affecting other people, that's when it's like, it's not fair. You know, we're not your punching bags at the end of the day. We're your friends.
Yeah. We talked about abandonment issues, or you touched on abandonment issues earlier. And definitely I do feel like they also impact a relationship a lot. Like, they can make someone become like overly dependent or insecure in the friendship. And I feel like, okay, that's a little too vulnerable, babes. Babes, let's like reel it back a bit, you know?
Yeah, the second it's affecting your attachment style to your friends, that's when you're like, okay, there's like a real problem here.
Yeah.
Do you have that though? Like, do you ever feel like you have a fear of like losing friends because you've been open about losing friends?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not something that I had, but it's more of something I developed in the most like recent years, because I think I made some bad choices with some friends, and maybe I gave too much to the wrong people. And so, what is that face?
I'm agreeing. I'm like, ooh.
But yeah, like I because some of them were fresh and some of them were deep and some of them hurt more than others. So over time, it does affect you subconsciously without you knowing. So I do feel like, yeah, a lot of times, like, I catch myself being like, am I doing this because of a fear of abandonment? Like, is this why I'm doing this? Is it to like please that person because I'm scared if I don't, they're going to leave me? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually know exactly what you mean. I do this really toxic thing. This is so bad. So obviously, like, we know about attachment styles.
Yeah.
And do you know yours? You're quite healthy, aren't you?
I think I saw something about it the other day, but I forgot what my attachment style is. We all know your attachment style.
And the ultimate avoidant. I will avoid.
Wait, actually, I told you something the other day. I think I'm like a mix of something. I forgot. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
we'll do an attachment style episode.
Oh my God, we have to. That would be a hoot. But I do this thing when I first meet anyone, whether it's a friend or someone I could be romantically, interested in, or anything. I do this really weird thing where I look at the person and in my head, I'm like, I am accepting that. I don't know if this is healthy or not, actually. I think it's pretty insane, but I look at them and like, I fully accept that if this is the last day I ever see you in my life, like, I'm fine with it. Like, this could be the last time I ever see you. Like,
so you're preparing yourself for disappointment.
Yeah. And I think that comes from like the avoidant in me, where I'm mentally already like 1 foot in and 1 foot out the door. And I think that definitely like
you don't approach all friendships or relationships right like that though, do you?
At the beginning, I do. At the beginning,
you're always like 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah. Honestly, it's horrible, I guess.
And that's definitely not healthy, Mina. She's like, I don't know if this is healthy. It's probably not, but I'm just gonna say it.
No, I'm not saying everyone should be this way. Like, it's probably I think it does come from being the only child and like having like some sort of like abandonment issue, like a fear of being alone or being perceived or whatever it is that I'm dealing with. But yeah, I look at the person, I'm like, if I never see you again, I have to be okay with that. And then it helps me enter the whatever relationship it is with like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not an excuse for you to leave anywhere. You're not going anywhere. You've passed that stage. All my friends have passed that stage. You're stuck with me for life.
There's no way I'm leaving. I mean, honestly, speaking of going somewhere, look, you guys, we've been going through it. Like February was like, it was a rough one. I am emotionally, mentally, physically burnt out. I feel like both of us have been put through the ringer. And so a few days ago, do you want to talk about this?
Yes, we should so talk about this.
A few days ago, we had, I think, one of our biggest.
It's our biggest, not one of. It's the biggest argument we've ever been in.
Argument to date.
Mainly because we don't remember any other argument because we just don't sit there and memorize stuff.
We were talking about it, and I was like, I don't remember any of our.
I know we argue a lot because we have a very sibling relationship, so we we bicker.
Yeah.
But this was crazy.
Basically, some things were said, like things got heated, and I noticed that things were getting heated. So I told Via, I was like, I don't want to do this, but obviously I'm weak.
No, I know what it is. Resist. We love clapping back.
That's the thing. As Sagittarius will never shut up. I always have to have the last word.
I know.
I'm like, see, we should end this conversation, and then you kept going,
and also,
and I was like, well, you know what? Since we're going there, and so it escalated,
and I was accused of untrue things, so I decided to say the worst possible thing that came to my mind, because in my head I'm like, I'm gonna end this now, I'm gonna get the last word in. This was so out of line. And then Zinab's like, what did you say?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't even say, what did you say?
Wait, you said?
I just said I'm out, and then I hung up.
No, you made me repeat it.
No.
Yes.
Did I?
Yes, because I said it twice.
Yeah. I was like, what did you say?
Yeah.
And then you said it, and I was like, okay, I'm out, and then I hung up.
Yeah. And like, we never do this. Like, whenever we argue, we'll be like, let me just get off the phone.
It was the first time. Yeah. It was the first time I hung up on you, and I was like, I can't believe she just said that.
Yeah, I couldn't. Asan, when you asked me, you know, when you asked me for the second time, I was like, da da da, and as I'm repeating, I was like, girl, no.
And then I hang up, and then she calls me back, and I pick up the phone, and I'm like, you crossed the line. I don't want to talk to you.
And so I obviously go on TikTok. And I see that she liked the last thing I posted. I'm like, she loves me. Why did I have to say that? No, but like I knew, it was so
out of line.
It was so uncharacteristic that I was like, damn, like no, like this is not how we talk to each other.
Yeah.
So then right away I texted you. I was like, hey, like I know, like this was so mean. Like no, like that. Yeah. Why would I say that? Especially because when we're angry, we say things that we don't mean.
And I think especially you and I, like the fact that like we black out when we get there, it's not a good thing. No. And I know I've been working on it. I know you've been working on it. Like we really are trying. You guys, we're doing our best.
Because usually when you get angry, you escalate really fast. But you go down really fast.
I go down really fast.
Like within a few minutes, she's like, it's a 10-minute long argument, but it's the biggest argument ever. But
you escalate slower, but then when you reach there, it's like...
When I reach it, it's like
knife in deep.
It's like a volcano though. No, but it's bad because that's why I like to be quiet. Like when I'm angry, I'm always like, I just shut down because I know if I open my mouth, I will go to the point of no return.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I am too. I feel like I know that and I'm aware of that. And like you said that you've burnt bridges. Like I'm the same. Like when I'm mad, I've said things that I was like later when I'm calmer, I'm like, God, why did I say that?
But you know why you said that, right? Because you want to give the person a slap on the face.
Yeah. And I think,
not because you mean it.
Yeah. And I think obviously when we're mad, it's not the best way to communicate. And we knew in that moment, we're like, when we talked about it later, we're like, we should have ended it. And then you told me, like, I said things and I was like, I don't recall saying that. And you're like, it's giving a man.
Honestly, it was giving gaslighting man saying, I never said that.
No, I didn't say I
that.
never said that. I said, I don't recall saying that. And you're like, you said that verbatim.
Yeah,
And I was
you asked it verbatim, and I'm like, yeah, verbatim.
I asked her, I was like, did I say it verbatim? And she was like, yeah. And then I was like, I think I just blocked that out. I
had a whole list. I was like, you said A and B and
she was
C,
like,
and...
you called me this and that and the third. And therefore, that warranted.
And this is why. So no, but I again, like, I will say we don't do this with everyone. I think we have an exceptionally like close relationship where we do really act like sisters and we bicker like sisters. And because when you work with your friend, like it's the hardest thing in the world because you love your friend, but when you work with your friend, you have to take that friendship out of the room a little bit.
And
you have to look at it in a business way.
Exactly. And I think we've been super stressed, not only within our like partnership at work as like coworkers or co-hosts, we've also been going through it personally in our individual lives, and we've both had our moments. There was a week where I told you, like, I communicated where I was like, listen,
you feel vulnerable.
I am very sensitive this week. I'm going through it. I was battling some demons. Ramadan Kareem.
There's no jinn, so are you the problem?
The demons were like, hi, Ramadan's around the corner, so let's just,
let's just send you into a spiral.
Send you into several spirals. So I was battling a lot of demons at the time, and I didn't know what was going on. And then I realized that I was being ultra sensitive. Things that usually don't bother me started to like hurt me. And I remember something happened. We had some sort of like, it wasn't an argument or a disagreement. I was just like, I don't know. I was giving you silent treatment for something. I don't remember why. And then we had a conversation, and I remember I told you, I was like, I am very sensitive right now. I'm like hypersensitive, and I don't know why. I'm just going through it. I'm trying my best. And I just felt like communicating that with you, like, really was important. And I told you in that moment where it was like, because I even my body language was like very protecting myself, and I was like pulling away, and then I don't know what you said, and it made me like kind of bring my walls down.
I stepped back.
Yeah.
So this is the difference I think that we just realized. When we disagree, sometimes you think something in your head because you're in a space that's dark, so you almost believe the dark thoughts.
It's giving Scorpio moon, honestly.
It is. And I have but the thing is, I have no idea. Like, obviously I don't know what's in your head, so unless you tell me, then I can be like, hey, but actually this is what happened, right? Because there's always like your vision of reality, my vision of reality, and like reality itself. So I think
our own projections, like,
and our own insecurities.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I think I saw that you were your body language, and I think that's why we don't want to argue on the phone anymore. Like, if we have a conversation that's serious or where we might disagree, we want to do it face to face. We literally
agreed to that recently.
Because otherwise, like, what, we're just gonna beef on the phone for no reason?
And then call each other and be like, I love you so much, I'm sorry.
Honestly, it was giving two drag queens. Really, this argument was giving two drag queens roasting each other on the phone. Like, it was.
Look at how orange your face looks, girl. That's a line from Drag Race.
Yeah, but
Drag
girl,
Race.
that feels a little real to me.
She's like, I feel attacked.
I feel attacked. Anyways, balancing drops aside, we realized I honestly, it was just, I saw your body language. Zainab, you were like crossing arms. You were in the corner of the kitchen. Like, you looked like you were being abused, So, and I was getting closer to you, talking to you. Then I just stepped back. I was like, she thinks I'm attacking
cornering
her.
me. Literally.
I was like, so why do you feel that way? What is this about? And then I was like, let me just step back. Like, she just feels attacked.
Yeah. And then I don't know, I think you noticed my body language, so you started being softer.
Yeah.
And then when you started being softer, and this is where it's like two people come into play. So I clocked that you saw my body language, and then I was more aware of it. And then I
uncrossed your arms.
Yeah. And then I noticed that Mia was starting to be softer, and I was like, in that moment, I was like, hey, like, she's your friend, trust her.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, listen, like, I'm just ultra sensitive right now. I'm very emotional. I don't know what's going on. I really have no idea what's going through my mind. I'm trying to figure it out. I just like felt like I needed to communicate that.
And in that moment, I didn't want to beef you. I didn't want to win an argument. I just saw my friend being sad, and I was like, wait a second, that's my best friend. That's my best friend.
That's my best friend.
Why is this giving couple counseling?
It's really
It's giving couples counseling.
I think it's important to do this episode because, like, a lot of people, they see friends when they're having fun and they see the good side of a friendship. But a lot of people think like, oh, it's all, you know, rainbows and flowers and sunshine. But it's not. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think you and I put in the work, but I don't think people see that. Like, when it gets ugly, it gets ugly. But because we're in this, like, we actually talk through these things, and because we are vulnerable.
Keyword today is vulnerable.
Keyword today is vulnerable. But because we are vulnerable with each other, and we trust each other, we trust that it's safe for us to be vulnerable with the other person.
I know you're not going anywhere. And you know I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, and I know, like, that you're not gonna use what I, like, my vulnerability against me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about
vulnerability behind the screen?
Behind the screen in a digital age.
Yeah.
Or the lack of vulnerability. I
think people are really vulnerable on the internet.
You think so? I feel like people control how vulnerable they are. Like, it's fake deep. It's kind of like very fake deep because you're hiding behind a screen. So you always get to control the narrative or how you're being perceived.
I think this is going to be interesting because we're on different sides of the internet here. So if you are still on, like, for example, Tumblr, girl.
Mia cannot stop talking about Tumblr issues.
Guys, I will never get over
Tumblr
it.
at, like, what, 2013, 2014, I think?
Not 2016. I think that's when people started leaving.
Yeah, 2016, actually, yeah.
No, I love Tumblr. I will never leave Tumblr. But if you're actually on Tumblr, okay, if you are a Tumblr OG, remember, like, there was so many different movements on Tumblr, right? There was a time where people were really literally promoting eating disorders, you know? Yeah,
I remember you told me that. Yeah. That was crazy.
But there's also mental health Tumblr. Obviously, no one's a therapist, but there's a chat bot on Tumblr that if you search keywords, that the chat, like, messages you and says, "Hey, why are you feeling this way?" Like, it's quite smart how they've upgraded Tumblr now. But a lot of blogs on Tumblr are still active, and people really share some really vulnerable things. And I think because Tumblr is so anonymous, you have a lot of people sharing very personal things.
Do you feel like Tumblr is a mass platform? Like, I'm pretty sure it's very niche.
It's very niche.
It's very niche. Yeah. So, yeah, well, that's great. But I think in general, like, when we're talking about, like, TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and things like that, like,
you have like 500 characters. Like, how vulnerable can you be in 500 characters?
Even in videos, like, for example, like, stories, reels, posts, or because even like comments, DMs, like, all that. Not just say, I wouldn't even say just social media. I would even say, like, interactions with people through the phone, like calls, texts, whatever. There's a lot that you can control.
I think anonymous internet, you can be really vulnerable. You can be more vulnerable when you're, oh my God, why am I struggling to speak today? You can be more anonymous on the more you can be anonymous on the internet, I think the more it's easy to be vulnerable. And I think that's why I think of Tumblr, because to me, Tumblr is the height of anonymity, right? You have a username and it's not connected to anything. You can just be completely, like, unknown. And so that's why I feel like to this day, I see a lot of anonymity and a lot of vulnerability there. Mm. But on Twitter, or like X, I guess, like, no, you have a limited number of spaces. How are you going to be vulnerable?
I mean, we do see people also who have, like, fake accounts feeling very comfortable to share their unsolicited opinions.
Yeah, honestly, whatever. No, but same with video. If I'm showing my face, don't you feel this way? Like, when the second you can see yourself saying something, you're like, oh, maybe I don't want to say that. Like,
the way I'm thinking about it is, like, for example, I could show myself on my Instagram laughing, having a good time. I can control how people look at me, but a lot of the times, like, I would be upset, but or I would be going through it, or I'd be, like, in my emo phase because, guys, I'm Scorpio moon.
She can't say it enough.
You know, I can't say it enough because it's made my life miserable.
I told you, I wish you were a Sagittarius moon.
I was a few hours away from being a Sagittarius moon.
Life could have been so much easier.
I just would have had commitment issues. More commitment issues.
More
commitment issues. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I could like show my, and even sometimes I think like when a friend calls me, like I could change my voice. I'd be like, hey, 5 minutes before that, I'm like on the floor crying in the fetal position, thinking like I'm
Listening to some Mariah.
my life is I am not listening to Mariah. When I'm sad, I'm not listening to Mariah.
I feel like Mariah is a good crying soundtrack though.
What is your crying song?
Honestly, I have a whole emo playlist.
Same.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah, mine is called in my feels or all the feels or something like that.
I don't want to talk about mine.
Let's expose Mia. Mia is a Cancer moon, so she is always crying.
Beat you up. If I wasn't dressed so nice, throw hands.
but that's the thing. Like, a lot of times you'd be upset, you'd be sad, you'd be whatever, but you'd be posting crazy things on Instagram or like texting your friends. Or it's easy to hide behind a screen. It's a lot easier.
I hide behind comedy.
Yeah.
Everyone knows. Everyone thinks it was so funny. I'm just severely depressed.
But I think in real life, it's a whole different situation where you're trying to control the narrative in real life and try to like be strong and be like, I got this. I'm okay. But guess what? It is okay sometimes to say you're not okay.
It's okay to cry in the club.
Actually, that was the song. That was the song.
Crying in the club is a soundtrack.
No, not crying in the club.
Oh.
The song that I've been listening to when I was going through it to remind myself that it's okay, because I think I suppressed so much in. And I was like trying to be strong, and then it just all like tumbled down. It was insane. No, that week was insane. But the song that I was listening to was My Chemical Romance, I'm Not Okay.
That's a depressing ass song.
It's not a depressing song. It's so fun.
My Chemical Romance are severely depressed.
Okay.
Actually, Green Day is the height of severe depression.
No,
My Chemical Romance is just
Green Day is nowhere near depression. I don't feel like Green Day is as depressed as like
Green Day. Okay, Green Day cosplay their depression, but when you really look at them, you're like, God, you must have been so depressed to be dressing and acting like that.
Green Day, I feel like is very like mainstream of that like genre. Like it's more pop rock, I would say. I mean, My Chemical Romance did end up being a bit more pop, especially
I think
with
they all
Black
end
Parade.
up being pop in the end.
3 Cheers for a Sweet Revenge, one of my favorite albums. So depressing.
As depressing.
No, it's not depressing.
As depressing as oh my God.
Lana Del Rey.
No. Oh my God. What are they called? They're the ones that sang Unwell. They're so depressing.
I'm not crazy. Matchbox 20. Matchbox 20.
Things are at an all-time. Can I just say things are at an all-time low if I'm in bed listening to Matchbox 20. That is peak unwellness at this point.
Yeah.
That's depressing.
But yeah, let's talk a little more about controlling the narrative in real life, because obviously we talked about controlling it behind the screen, but in real life it looks different.
Well, it's not as aesthetically pleasing.
It's not just that. Like I feel like there are moments where you start to like shut yourself off from your friends just because you want to be like strong. I mean, at least for me, I feel like that's what happened, where I don't feel like I shut myself off, but I think I just say, I'm okay, it's okay. You know what I mean? And I will have my breakdowns like that I don't talk to you guys about. Like I have my breakdown, like I could literally be like on the phone with someone like laughing and then I'd like be crying after. But I wouldn't want to show that because I'm like, I don't want to be weak. I don't want people to think that, oh, she's always like emotional. She always has something going on in her life. Oh, she's always like miserable.
You don't be the sad friend.
You don't want to be the sad friend.
How I feel.
But then like it becomes too much that you explode.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I just become hypersensitive and I go crazy.
I just go crazy. Anyways.
No, but like I feel like in that moment, like one thing that happened and it was really surprising and I really liked that and appreciated it. I obviously had you being like there for me and supportive, and obviously like our other friends, but I think what surprised me the most was I have a group of girlfriends, and they were hanging out, and I was feeling really low. And I have different dynamics within that group. Like I'm close to some of the girls more than the others. Some have like recently gotten close to whatever. And I was like, I'm just gonna go hang out with them instead of being miserable at home. Like literally, I was just wallowing in my own self-pity, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I feel gross. So I went over, and obviously girls, we can tell when one of us is not doing that great. So they're like, what's going on? Like, and they were encouraging me to like speak on it. And they were so supportive in an amazing way that made me feel so at ease. You know what I mean? They're like, it's okay, let it out. And one of my friends was like, she was like, you're so put together. Like, it's okay. You can be messy sometimes. It's fine. And I think that had a huge impact on me, where it's like, I mean, I don't always have to be like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm put together.
Slay
I'm okay.
Slay Quisha.
Slay Quisha. Like even sometimes like not allowing myself to cry. You know what I mean? Like, because when I cry by myself, it's ugly.
No, but I relate to that a lot, because I think sometimes I do the same, where I mean, all the time I do the same. I'm always like cracking jokes and being funny, and I'll go to something that I don't want to do, that I have to do, right? And I'll leave there and I'll go meet my friends and crack jokes, and I won't process how sad I am and how upset I am that I'm being put in a situation that I don't want to be in. And I think, like, I could just go to my friends and be sad, right? But my fear is that I'm always a sad friend, and that they like me because I'm the fun friend.
Yeah.
But I think we forget that we're multi-dimensional people, and our friends are going to like us whether we're sad or fun. And if they only like one thing, if they only like us when we're fun, they're not our fucking friends.
Yeah.
You're not my friend. Like, what? I'm not going to be there to always like uplift you and be the life of the party if you're not going to be there for me when I'm on the floor crying and need someone to pick me up.
I mean, obviously we know like vulnerability leads to greater empathy within friendships, and it creates very deep bonds.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need to find that there is like a fine line between being vulnerable and just dumping and being the drama all the time.
Let's talk about
which we called weaponizing vulnerability.
Yes.
Yeah.
So weaponizing vulnerability. If you've done that,
shame on you.
You're not cool. You're not one of the girls. No, it's not fair.
Yeah.
I think it's just not fair. I think when you start to weaponize your vulnerability, especially because you do it to your friends, right? I think it's almost cruel.
You know who I feel like
are you gonna drop a name right now?
Perfect example of that. I mean, it's probably by the time this is out, this is old news, but Chelsea from Love is Blind.
Oh my god. Oh my, yeah, this is old news. Actually, it's not. Everyone do the Chelsea face. Is this on her face? No, please, it's not her face. It's not her face. It's literally, she's literally the sad emoji.
I feel like she is literally like, do you agree? Do you feel like that's weaponizing vulnerability?
She weaponized, honestly, she weaponized everything. It's not just her vulnerability. Everything she has weaponized.
But poor Chelsea, I feel like the internet dragged her.
Yeah, there was no need to go that.
Like,
look, we just dragged her.
I know.
But you shouldn't.
No, but like, you know, people were sending her death threats. Like she was like, you guys cool it with the death threats.
We can giggle. We can tease the girl. She put herself on the internet. Like, we all get teased if we're on the internet.
I feel so bad for her, because can you imagine, like, not only are you seeing yourself that way, the whole world is seeing it. And not just that, like, everybody is dragging you. There's literally not one person who's like, oh, I'm on Chelsea's side, or I'm team Chelsea.
No. Megan Fox's ex-husband.
Oh yeah, he did say that. He saw really the resemblance. It wasn't. I'm talking about more like of her behavior.
But he actually defended. He was like, I think he said something really nice, like, good luck, Chelsea, or
really?
I wish her all the best. Like, he was quite Brian Austin Green. That's his name, right?
Brian Austin Green. Yeah.
He still looks great, by the way. Does not age. He was quite. I think he indirectly said, like, let's just be a bit kinder.
I think what makes everybody uncomfortable with Chelsea is, I think all of us kind of see ourselves in Chelsea. Let's be real. Obviously, like, she needs a lot of healing and therapy, but
you know what pissed me off?
What?
is when she pretended she didn't know Megan Fox.
Oh my God, when she said
she knew MGK.
I don't know, is she MGK's
like, you know
girlfriend?
MGK's name and not Megan Fox's name.
You know her name. No, that's for sure.
That's when I lost it. I was
that
like,
for
girl.
sure pissed me off. And also what pissed me off is that like I mean, everybody on TikTok has already talked about this, but you knew this man had a stronger connection with Jessica and you had a stronger connection with Trevor. I mean, we all know now that Trevor is a no-go. But regardless, like in that moment, you knew that he had a stronger connection with Jessica and you were so obsessed with being picked that you wanted to sway him in a way. She knew what she was doing because she brought up that conversation. She's like, do you ever get told you look like a celebrity?
Yeah, it was the question was asked so she could answer.
Exactly. So she could answer. And she's like, I get asked. And then people were like, oh, but she said, I don't see it. But that's the whole point. Like it's psychologically like she's trying to put that seed in his head.
And
that
we saw
image.
his reaction.
Yeah.
The second he
He's
was
like,
Megan Fox. He told me he was like Megan Fox. Like, I'm sorry, that was the most we saw Jimmy smile the whole show.
She shot herself in the foot with that because it's like, girl, you literally set yourself up for disappointment.
But yeah, she does weaponize her vulnerability. Like, you at some point you can put yourself out there, but if you're not getting back what you want, you can't control people's behavior. You can only control your reaction to the behavior. So you got to be like, all right, well, this is just not for me.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
but it's also easier said than done.
Also, yeah, I mean, a lot of things are obviously easier said than done. In practice, like, you have to be aware of when you're doing it. You have to be open to like criticism, which brings us to accountability.
Because this is, I think, where accountability really comes to play.
Of course. So obviously accountability is very important in relationships because it helps like foster growth, personal development, growth of the friendship itself. Because like when you are holding yourself accountable or holding someone else accountable for certain behaviors that like are upsetting you or crossing your boundaries or whatever, that kind of helps for open communication within that friendship. So it helps that friendship grow. And then at the same time, when you're accepting that feedback from the other person and you're open to accepting it, it helps you and your personal development.
Yep. And it just like strengthens, I think, like the trust, the communication, like it becomes easier.
Of course. Yeah.
In saying that, it's a lot, I think, harder. I think it's hard to hold your friends accountable because they're your friends and you don't want to see them.
How do you do it? Because sometimes you feel like there's maybe like doing too much.
Well, I think it's kind of scary, right? Holding your friends accountable for something sheds a light on them, but I think it also sheds light on you. I think that's where it's difficult, because if you're telling someone, hey, by the way, you did A, B, C, D, F, G, they in turn are going to tell you, well, okay, but you did A, B, C, D, F, G too. I think that's for me.
Do you think that's fair? Like when you're calling someone out and they're like, yeah, but you did this.
Not
or
if you say but.
Yeah.
Like, I think you should hear out what the person's like.
I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you should say, and on my hand, maybe I reacted that way because I felt like this was happening. You know what I mean? Look at the I statements. I love an I statement. No, because I do think there's a difference.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I mean, even in therapy, that's one of the major things that they teach you is that when, and even like, especially in couples counseling, if you hear therapists talk about like couples arguing or like how to resolve problems, like you always have to approach it with, I felt no. But
can I ask you a question?
Ask me.
Have you lost a friend before because, they couldn't hold themselves accountable for their actions?
Of course.
Do you want to share with the class?
Of course.
I love how this is a classroom.
This is a classroom. Obviously, like this friend, you know who it is.
I do.
So there were a lot of red flags about her, but I think this was the tipping point. Like this was the cherry on top. And I was like, after this, I'm like, I can't. I don't know if I want to go into the full story, but basically, like, should I go into the story?
Yeah.
It was juicy.
It's story time.
Okay. So we were planning a friend trip. And already like tensions were high between us like before this friend trip.
How many people?
I think we were 5, 6, about like 7 people. But the thing is, like,
uneven number already in a
no. But the thing is, like, before we went, and I told her like, oh, maybe one of my friends wants to join, so we create a WhatsApp group, and in the WhatsApp group, we're trying to figure out where we are going to stay.
Were people responding in the WhatsApp group, or were they messaging you on the side? Like, when that happened?
No, this didn't happen in the WhatsApp group.
Okay.
When I said in the WhatsApp group, I was like, I want to stay at a hotel.
Yeah.
I want my own room. I like my space.
Did they
I want a
to
hotel room.
Stay in a tent?
She wanted a shared apartment.
No.
Because she was like, oh, it's more fun. It's an experience. No, whatever. And I was like, honestly, I prefer my space. I prefer a hotel room. I don't want to be doing laundry and whatnot. Like, yeah, there are obviously a lot of nice perks about like staying at a hotel. And so 2 of our friends were like, we're going to stay at a hotel. And I think 2 other ones were like, we're getting our own place. And then it was me, her, and another friend. And then my friend was also supposed to come with us. And then my friend last minute was like, I don't feel comfortable. I'm not going to come, which is understandable. Nothing was agreed on, nothing. Like, we didn't really agree on anything. And then she starts messaging me and she gets mad because she's like, oh, you haven't been helping me like find a place. And I was like, I wanted to book a hotel. Like, you're the one that's insisting on an apartment. So I'm like, okay, let's look for places. And we start sending each other places. I literally respond to one of the places. I was like, I like this. I don't think I like this is confirmation for go ahead and book.
No, it means we can discuss.
We can discuss because we're sending each other options. Yeah. I'm like, okay, we're narrowing it down. She goes and books this place.
Without telling you?
Without telling me, assuming that my friend was still coming with us.
When you told her she wasn't?
I hadn't informed her yet.
Okay.
And so after she booked, she was like, I booked. And I was like, what did you book? And she was like, the one that you said I like. And I was like, yeah, but like we didn't confirm. We didn't talk. No. And I was like, my friend is not coming. And so she got mad. And we didn't have time to talk about it because she was going on a business trip. And I was already like upset with her because of other things. Like, she was just being so self-centered. She wasn't like very...
What's her star sign?
Scorpio. She wasn't very attentive to like what I was going through. Like, I was going through something as well. Like, one of my friends' best friend had passed and I was going through that. I don't know, whatever. She didn't care. At that time, all she cared about was herself. We go on this trip and then... in the trip, she starts asking me if my friend's going to pay her for the apartment.
The friend that didn't come?
The friend that didn't come.
Okay.
Keep in mind, her and I were supposed to share the master bedroom. She kicks me out of the master bedroom, tells me to take the other room. The other room is the size of a closet. We're all
like
splitting
Paris Hilton's
equally.
Closet or like an actual...
No. I wish it was Paris Hilton's closet. Paris Hilton's closet is probably triple the size of that room. It literally was a closet. I don't think I could lay like fully, like horizontally. Like,
you're not that tall, so that's crazy.
No, it was a closet. It was so tight in there. And like literally the bed was so close to the walls, I'd have to like push the bed and then like hold the mattress to the side just so I can plug my charger. And it was a nightmare. And then she starts badgering me to ask my friend in Kuwait, who didn't even come with us on this trip, to pay her the money.
Delusional.
And then she starts yelling at me and is like, you put me in this position. I refuse to let you put me in this position. And I was like, I didn't put you. You put yourself.
You know how gaslighters say, like, I didn't just, you did this to yourself. She actually did this to herself.
And then she brings it up. She keeps bringing it up along the trip because we went to Disneyland. We went to Paris.
Without me?
Without you. Can you imagine?
That's what you get.
And then she blows all her money in the Disney store, which I'm like, what are you getting? Like, there's only enough pins and pens and shit that you can get. Like, you're not spending 1,000 or 2,000 euros at Disneyland. Like, please, ma'am, you're an adult. So she blows all her money, and I think she was like running out, and she came to me and she was like,
trying to be cute.
She was like,
she's trying to be cute.
She's trying to be cute. She's acting brand new. She said, tear me out the wrapper. I've been acting brand new. So she's like, can you tell your friend to give me the money? I was like,
of what? Your shopping haul at Disney store?
Are we still talking about this? And then she brings it up. We go back to Kuwait. Like, I thought it was fine. She starts being awkward. And then I went to New York. And then while I was in New York, she's harassing me about the money. Imagine.
Girl, I'm in New York. Don't talk to me.
That's literally the last conversation that we had, was her harassing me for the money. And she was like, that it's your friend. And you're supposed to get the money. You put me in this position and you need to get me the money.
This girl's crazy. I hate calling girls crazy, but that's just crazy.
Basically, that was it. I was like, you cannot hold yourself accountable for what you did. And not only that, like, you've taken it so far to the point that you are asking people to pay you money that they don't owe you. They never agreed to this. You didn't ask that person whether they agreed to book this apartment.
She didn't ask you.
She didn't ask me. Like, it's common knowledge that if you're all splitting an apartment, or if we're all booking a place together, you confirm with everyone if they're okay with the amount. You don't just go and book a place after one of the people told you, I like this. So that was literally the last conversation I had with her. It was over text when I was in New York. And already she was like, she had started like stirring up shit. I mean, she's been a shit stirrer the whole time. Like, she's the kind of person that loves putting people in a corner and then like playing her little games with everyone. So that conversation, I was like, I'm out. Like, I haven't talked to her since. But the crazy part is, a few months ago, she meets you and she thinks that she's smart. She thinks that she's clever. You think you're clever, don't you? And she, I don't know, you guys start being friendly, chatting, whatever. And then when we launched the podcast...
Actually, no. I met her once at a friend's gathering.
And there was beef.
Oh, yeah, but not with you, with my friend.
Yeah.
With a really good friend.
She really, like, I swear, this girl, like, the problems
she's trying to be best honest with me, but you just beefed my friend.
Yeah.
You said horrible things about my friend. And then you beefed my best friend. We're not friends.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm very loyal to that. If you beef my friend, we're not friends. We will never be friends.
We will never be friends.
I know some girls, they can't do that. But to me, how am I going to be your friend if you just beefed all my friends?
Yeah. No, it's not
I
just
said
that.
beef so many times. That's crazy.
No, that's not even the craziest part. The craziest part for me is that when we launched the podcast, she's replying to your stories about the podcast. Obviously, I am in that picture, and she's telling you, I'm so proud of you. It's great. No. And I'm like,
but it was such a crazy message of support, but it's like, I've met you once in my life. And again, you've been cruel to my friends. We're not friends. We've met once.
We're not friends, and we're never gonna be.
No. Anyways.
What's the new Ariana song?
We can't be friends.
Okay, anyways, tell us a story about when you've lost a friend for lack of accountability.
Mine's kind of a dark story.
She's like, it's dark.
I'm dissociating.
Do you want to tell us?
So I have like a similar instance with a friend where that friend said a lot of things that were, I'm sure to that person, like true, but the way I saw it was that they were just throwing accusations and they weren't even holding themselves accountable. And I think when you accuse someone of things, again, like, this is your reality, this is your truth, for all I know you believe it, but to not be able to see your own actions sort of baffled me. And for a long time I struggled. I was like, am I all these things? And then I realized, first of all, no.
Was it like a phone call, or?
It was a text.
Okay.
I was like, am I all these things? And I saw the text. I archived it. And whenever, this is so bad, whenever I like think back, like, should I reach out? Like, I don't want to be on bad terms with anyone, but I look at that text, I'm like, no.
How bad was this text?
Horrible.
Yeah.
It was the meanest thing anyone's ever said to me. Remember what I said to you? 10 times worse.
Do you feel like that friend was trying to say something, but they couldn't communicate it, so they resorted to like attacking you? Or do you feel like they were just being venomous?
I think that friend was being venomous because, again, like, they just refused to hold themselves accountable for any of the behavior that they did. You know what I mean? And in whatever argument or disagreement or story, there's always two, if there's just two people, there's two sides to the story.
Yeah.
And for someone to just throw out abusive words to you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Abusive words?
I could show you the text. Do you want to see?
Do you want to read some things from the text?
Absolutely not. No one's ever seen this before. Zainab's face.
Can I just say one word?
What?
Can I just read out one word?
Yeah,
that I think
sure.
is supremacist?
It's like, I'm a lot of things. A supremacist? Okay.
You were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 was supremacist, and then there was an 8.
Hey, you're hurling out abuse at this point. You are. That's just not a way to act. You can call someone and you can tell someone, this is how I feel and this is my truth and this is what I don't like. But to just say something like that, I think, to me, that was the point of no return. I was like, God, like, there's no coming back from this, because if you're so okay insulting someone, and again, your feelings are valid if you feel some type of way, but if you're so okay just saying you, and this whole text was yous, you have actually failed to account for what you did.
Yeah.
For me to take a stance, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is insane behavior.
I'm supremacist.
Yeah, I know. I was still going to tell. I was like, am I a supremacist? Is this supremacist or supremacist? Should ask that person.
Supremacist.
And,
whatever.
but like I saw that person recently, and I remember so because I do the thing right where I decide when I first meet someone I have to be okay with never seeing you again. I also, if I ever see someone that I'm not, friends with or whatever, like I'm okay smiling, or like I can say hi, like we can be mature, like it's really never that deep, right?
Yeah.
And I've run into people that I'm not necessarily friends with, and it's never that deep, but this person saw me and decided to tell, his like sidekicks, like, because they really have sidekick energy, look, me is there, and I'm like, like I would have smiled at you if you acted normally. I would have smiled at you.
There's no need to do that. It's so childish. Like, okay, if you want to tell someone like, I don't want to have you in my life because A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever, it's fine. But then if you run into them,
just act normal.
Instead of being like, hey, that's the person, like nudge, nudge,
and
wink,
especially
wink,
if
nudge,
it's been
nudge.
years, like at some point you have to get over it.
Yeah.
Like if it's been years, like I'm sitting here being like, what? This is how you're gonna act? Like after how you acted? Okay.
I mean, I didn't think I was going to share this, but I do want to talk about this in I don't know if it's in the same vein of like accountability, but yeah, I guess it is. Like, obviously I've the friend that I talked about in episode 1, Girl Gang Chronicles, where I was like, this friend stopped picking up, stopped responding, no, whatever. And obviously we were having issues before, like we stopped talking, but basically I ended up running into her last year. Mm-hmm. I think it was last year. And to me, even though, because I called you, and even though I was like, okay, I was obviously like hurt by the way that she decided or like removed herself from our lives, like without explaining anything or saying anything. It was just like so abrupt. But I was like,
she literally ghosted all of you.
She literally ghosted our entire friend group. And I knew
someone else recently did that with a friend group we know.
Ooh. Who? Oh yeah. Anyway,
who said it's not personal, by the way?
So she ghosted the entire group, and I knew I was gonna run into her because I was working in the same place that she works. First time, one of our friends points out to her and was like, "Oh, Zainab," because this mutual friend didn't know that we were not speaking.
But she had ghosted.
I mean, she decided that she didn't want to speak, and I literally see her like turn around, look at me, and then turn back. That was the first time. I was like, okay, I'm gonna let that one slide. The second time was worse because I walk into the office and she was standing there having a conversation with 2 other people. I go up, I say hi, I stand next to her. She gives me her back and runs away.
Like ran, like
literally,
like
it
running?
felt like she was like not running. Like she was in a hurry. It's like she was in a rush to get away from me.
She had a train to catch. The tram is about to leave in 7 minutes. It's Kuwait.
And I had a meeting right after, and I remember like I called you. Was it after the meeting or before the meeting? Before the meeting, and I was like trying to hold myself from like crying. I was literally on the verge of tears because there's nothing more hurtful than having your friend abandon you, because that's literally what she did, and then B, like not even wanting to confront you or be in the same room as you or act civil, or you know what I mean. It was just such a shocker, but I think it is people who are afraid of holding themselves accountable or afraid of confrontation as well. I'm sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think both those people are very similar. They just didn't want to be held accountable for something. And it was just easier to either run away from it or hurl some insults and run away.
Yeah, I mean, the message that you showed me was very like, I'm going to speak my truth. I'm not going to give you an opportunity to defend yourself. And I'm calling you A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, like literally every single letter in the alphabet. And bye. Like, you know what I mean?
But I in that moment, I remember saying, I'm like, okay, bye. Like literally. And it's only in like a couple of weeks after that I was like, okay, but this is dead. This is never coming back. Yeah. But let me look at what was said and let me actually analyze my behavior. And I think that's the thing. If you're able to hold yourself accountable, you're already honestly like half the hurdle is done, really. Because then you can clearly see situations for what they are. And you can clearly see people for who they are. And had this not happened, I wouldn't be able to like honestly look back and see this friend's actions towards me. Yeah. And this friend's sort of like toxic undercurrent. You know what I mean? I was like, you know what? Good riddance.
Yeah. I mean, there's also, I think, a difference between like holding yourself accountable and like owning who you are.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I mean, like at some point, like, okay, I know I have flaws. We're not perfect.
Yeah.
And maybe someone would see it as a flaw. Someone else wouldn't see it as anything.
Someone might also see it as a superpower.
Exactly.
It's okay to own who you are.
It's okay to own who you are. Yeah. But obviously, if the things that were said bother you, you have to see where they're coming from. Like, is there any truth to this? Is there at least some truth? Maybe, you know, there obviously there's always a better way to express these things. Like you could say things like, I felt like you were exuding some of this behavior, but that's not your character. Because we all do sometimes act out of character, but that doesn't mean that that's who we are at our core.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? We can all, you know, maybe be supremacists.
No, but we all go through tough times. We all go through trials, tribulations. Like you catch someone in a bad time, you think, oh, they're a bad person. But at the end of the day, like if you can look at yourself وانتي راضية عن نفسك, like accepting who you are, then that's the best you can do in reality. You know what I mean? Like whilst also improving
unless
yourself.
It's like hindering your relationships with people. And obviously if you're getting a lot of complaints.
I've never gotten that in my life. Like I've never seen a text like this in my life. I've never been spoken to this way in my life. Like I think there are some things where it's like, you know what, if these are your manners, you are not okay. Like that is not an okay message to send. I've never spoken or even thought of speaking like this to anyone in my life. I think when I'm done with someone, I just leave. And that's why like I was just like, whatever, I'm leaving.
I mean, there's no point in saying those things if you're not trying to resolve. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to be your friend, but I'm gonna hurt you before I leave. Or I'm gonna tell you why I don't want to be your friend. You know what I mean?
Not even why. I'm gonna accuse you of things and call you it's really just call you names. I'm gonna call you names because there's no real accusation. It's just name calling. And I think again, what is this?
It was not constructive. Like obviously, when you have these conversations, they have to be constructive. Like you can't just be like accusing someone that they're A, B, C, D. You know, like you and I do this all the time. We are constantly like setting boundaries or reaffirming boundaries with each other, and a lot of the times, like I said, like sometimes you would exude behavior that would remind me of a certain characteristic, but that's not your character, you know? And that's the difference, is that you have to know that person and you have to know their character and you have to assess and be like, is that my friend talking or is that my friend's trauma?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Agreed. And similarly, like sometimes there are actions with someone that I really can't explain and I can't put my finger on what's happening, but I just remember that, like everyone's going through their journey and their truth today is their truth today. It might not be their truth tomorrow, but you just cannot control people's behavior or what they say. You can only control your reaction to it. And for me personally, no reaction is really the best reaction. Like I'll just leave.
I mean, we also have to take intentions into consideration, but even intentions, like
you can hope that the intentions are the best. And maybe this person wanted to tell me this because they thought this would enlighten me. You know, like maybe this person's intentions were good. Who knows? Also, who cares? Life goes on.
I mean, I'm talking about it more in the context of like when people refuse to hold themselves accountable because they're like, oh, well, my intentions were good. So even though my actions or my behavior was bad, my intention is good. So I'm not going to take responsibility for how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have a whole episode on intentions, because intentions are one thing, but if how someone is affected by your actions, like, is different.
I mean, we had a similar situation where it was like, I was affected by certain actions, and you and I saw it, perceived it in a way where it triggered my, I guess, my trauma. And then you were explaining to me that, hey, like, that was not my intention,
and also it wasn't my reality.
And
I think, but these are conversations that we were able to have, and not everyone has the luxury of having these conversations, because like I told you, like, genuinely, when I think about it, 2-3 years ago, I had no idea that there was like a whole vocabulary that I could use to express how I felt. I just felt things, and I didn't know. I would suppress them. That's it. You know, I'd be like, whatever, I don't think about it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, these are things that I've learned with therapy, and that's why we love therapy. Go to therapy. But I do, I mean, if you need it, and if you feel like it will help you, I highly recommend. But I always say, like, therapy doesn't solve your problems. It equips you with the right tools to help you solve these problems, or make it easier to go through these problems. And so I was never like this. I feel like I've lost a lot of friendships because maybe my pride got in the way. I refused to let my guards down. I let my trust issues get in the way, like all of that. Or I was doubting someone's intentions. Like, you know what I mean? So these are things you have to learn with time. You either work with a therapist, have conversations with your friends. I think having open and honest, and like actually really like trying not to take things personally.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. I think just like, you know, we joked at the beginning of the episode, all your friends don't hate you secretly, you know. And I think
we were joking, you guys.
Yeah, everyone loves you unless they don't. This person definitely does not love me. They can't say enough bad things. No, but yeah, you might be the villain in someone's story, and that's okay. You can't really control that narrative. What you can control is how you feel about something, you know. Like, as much as we say our feelings are beyond our control, they're not. We have to sit with our feelings. We have to be logical. Use your brain. Can't say it enough. And yeah, let's be empathetic to one another, you know. Let's try to understand one another and
listen.
Yeah,
listening, I think, is very
Beyonce
underrated.
said it best. Listen. People are tired of hearing us sing.
But no, I feel like listening, empathizing, setting boundaries in relationships is very key, very important. It really is key. And awareness, like, these are all obviously like tied together, but it comes with practice. Like, you're not going to wake up overnight and be like, okay, well, I am going to be accountable for every single one of my actions. And you know what I mean? Or I'm going to hold everyone accountable. And
some people honestly need 50 boundaries to be okay. And some people need 5. It doesn't really matter, but just figure that out. And it's okay if you don't figure it out right away.
Yeah, just be honest. Like, and
talk about it.
Lord knows we enjoy talking about it.
Can't talk about anything enough.
Can't talk about it enough.
We can't shut up.
What is something that you someone held you accountable to recently that surprised you about yourself?
I think I said it earlier. I just wasn't vulnerable. I thought I was being vulnerable, but I was not. And I think it took me understanding what vulnerability meant. It's not saying, oh, I did this today, and having the person understand that if I did this, I'll be in a mood. No, it's saying I did this and I feel this way. I think I just didn't say I feel. And when I got told it this year or this time around, I really felt it. I was like, yeah, I actually don't. So yeah, I'm happy I was called out on not being vulnerable enough. Even though people would. Sohan.
Oh, shout out Sohan.
Always shout out Sohan.
But yeah. I also told you that. I was like, you're not as...
Yeah, but you're in my face about it.
I love shocking you where you're like, you tell me this like epiphany that you had. You're like, I realize this is something. Yeah. I've been known.
I've been
perceived this months ago. I have just not brought it up to you because I didn't know if you were ready to hear it.
She can't get enough perceiving me. Anyways, on that perceptive note.
I'm sorry that I perceive you so hard.
What's something you were told recently that surprised you?
About myself? That I like had to hold myself accountable for? What is that face? I don't know. I feel like you
I
have
think
something to
Mother
say. So
Teresa.
tell us.
I think me calling you Mother Teresa comes to mind. Instead of us to carry everyone's problem on her on top of her shoulders,
that's
she carries
true.
her own, and she carries people's problems, and then she has a complete mental breakdown, and she can't take it anymore. And I'm like, yeah, because you've decided to just take on
everything. Yeah, I think this is something I knew I had a problem with previously, but I thought I worked on it. I thought I wasn't doing it anymore, like being Mother Teresa. But yeah, recently February, when I started having like weird whooshing sounds in my ear, or like hearing like
we thought you had vertigo.
Sounds. I thought I had vertigo. I went and checked to the doctor. It was like, your ears are clean, your eardrums are fine, you're okay. This is just stress, and coffee makes it worse.
Stop drinking coffee.
So I just stress myself out to the point where I just get so exhausted. And I constantly have like shoulder and back pain because I'm carrying everyone's problems.
It was like being friends with someone that's like 80 years old. I
don't know. Like, why do I feel the need to like fix everyone's life? Like, I don't know.
No, you.
So I think that was definitely something that I realized recently, where it's like, just worry about yourself, girl. Just worry about yourself. Nobody's got time for that. And I think also, this one was a big one for me, and I hope one day we could do an episode on this. I realized that I was scared to take up space much as I thought I was okay with taking up space, but I feel like sometimes I do like tend to like pull back, I guess. So these were things I figured out recently. So I think I'm trying to hold myself accountable when it comes to these.
Well, this marks the end of the Ramadan episodes, everyone. Thank you so much for spending the holy month with us.
We hope you had
two hearts.
Blessed
Two heart
month.
right now.
Two hearts. We hope you guys had a blessed month. Not me saying this. I'm stuck. I cannot get unstuck, you guys. But no, seriously, we hope you guys had a wonderful, blessed Ramadan.
Remember, if you were hungry, we were hungry too. When you were thirsty,
we were all thirsty too. But it's over, you guys. Eid is next week.
It's around the corner.
It's around the corner.
One last hurdle.
And we're going to be having our coffees in the morning again. So
your ears are done ringing because you're not having coffee.
My ears start ringing after futur.
It's actually the sound of my voice. It's in your head. Oh my god, maybe that ear ringing is me in your head.
Maybe it is.
Am I the sound of your conscience?
No, Mia. I talk to you all the time. I see you every day. I do not need your voice in my head. Please.
Sometimes I hear your voice in mine.
Oh my god. What is it? I'm sure it was scolding.
Yeah,
is it scolding?
Like, are you ready to do this? I'm like, oh my god, shut up.
Shut up, mom.
Shut up. You're not my mom.
That's something we should do. We're going to have an episode on unhealthy friendship dynamics.
Yeah. All right, guys. If you like this episode, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Share to the friends that need to hear this. I'm sure you have some.
Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on YouTube.
Rate us 5 stars. If it's not a 5-star review, I'll hit you with some dates. I will literally take dates and hit you with them.
Why are you so abusive to people? It's Ramadan. You need to find peace in your heart, Mia.
I will not share my dates with you then. Is that the alternative?
All right, you guys. Well, that's our episode for the week. We will see you next Wednesday with a special episode. You guys are not prepared for what we have in store for you.
You guys are about to start the Eid with
a bang. All right, you guys. We're out. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.